Today we're going to learn how to evaluate algebraic expressions. And really, if you don't know anything about algebraic expressions, we just did an introduction lesson last video, so go ahead and check that out. That is really going to give you the foundational skills and understanding to better understand this lesson. So our focus is to evaluate algebraic expressions for the given values of the variable. And so we talked about all these keywords in our last lesson. So today we will also review some key vocabulary words, and I'll do a quick mini lesson on what it looks like to evaluate expressions, and we'll do some practice problems and end with some real life word problems. So let's take a look at those vocabulary words. Our first vocabulary term for today is substitute, and you can think of like a substitute teacher. When your teacher's gone, somebody comes in and replaces them, a substitute teacher. And to substitute in mathematics means to substitute the variable or the unknown value with its actual value. And so last lesson, we talked about algebraic expressions, and an algebraic expressions include an unknown variable or value. And so today we're going to evaluate that by plugging them in. So another word you'll often hear for substitute is to plug in. It's to replace the unknown number. And we just mentioned this expression. So an expression is a math phrase with numbers, operations, and variables. And there's no equal sign. So again, if you want to check that out, check out that lesson. There's no equal sign and it has that unknown value. So we are going to be evaluating expressions by plugging in those unknown values. And so to evaluate means to calculate the value of an expression. It's to get the answer. And once we know what the variable is, we can do that using substitution. Okay, we're going to go over a few quick examples and do a little mini lesson on how to evaluate an expression. And our last lesson was on the introduction to algebraic expressions in 6th grade. So if you have not listened to that, it's really going to help you with everything we do today. So check out the link in the description. So there's two things we're going to do to start off. We're going to substitute the variable with the number that's provided. So let's look here at example 1. We have evaluate 3x plus 2 for x equals for x equals 4. So 4, 4, 4. So for x equals 4. So 3x plus 2, and then we know what x is. X is 4. So now we are going to substitute or plug that value in. So instead of writing 3x, we replace the x with 4, and we have 3 times 4. Remember, when they're 3 x's right next to each other, we don't see the operation sign, but it means to multiply. So 3x means 3 times x, and then x is 4. So 3 times 4 plus 2. And then we follow our order of operations, which, remember, please expect mistakes. Determination always succeeds. And so we start with multiplication. 3 times 4 is 12, and then we add 2. 12 plus 2 gives us 14. Okay. Let's try this next example. We're going to evaluate 2a to the second power plus 5, and a stands for 3. So we're going to evaluate the expression, which we're basically going to plug in or substitute a. We're going to replace a with the number 3 and then do the math. So 2 times a to the second power. Again, we see 2a right next to each other. We don't write multiplication symbol, but we know that it means that we're multiplying. So 2 times, and then we have 3 to the second power plus 5. So we do order of operations, and we're going to start with exponents. So remember, 3 to the second power does not mean 3 times 2. It means 3 times 3. You're multiplying the base 2 times. So 3 times 3 is 9. And then our next order of operations is to multiply. So we have 2 times 9 plus 5. So 2 times 9 gives us 18, and then we add 5. 18 plus 5 equals 23. Okay, for our first word problem, write an algebraic expression for each description and then evaluate that expression. So back to school budget, you spend $M on each. Each is a keyword here, each marker pack, and you buy 3 packs. Then you buy a notebook for $2. Write and evaluate the expression 3m plus 2 if each pack cost $4. So for this first problem, we're actually giving you the expression here, but let's see how we get that. You spend M dollars. So our unknown amount is we don't know how much money we're spending. So we put M is our variable on each pack of markers, and we buy 3 packs. So each pack. So again, you can think of if I buy 3 packs, okay, it would be m plus m plus m, which repeated addition is the same as multiplication, okay, and I can multiply in whatever order I want. Whoops, not 3m, 3 times m. And so when we write this as an expression, we would just write 3m right next to each other. Okay, we know that that means to multiply. So instead of saying 3 times m, 3m means I'm multiplying. Then I'm going to buy a notebook for $2. So it is a one-time purchase. I'm just getting one notebook for $2. So that would be an additional $2, which means I'm going to add. So now that's how we have the expression 3m plus 2. And then I'm going to tell you what m equals. M, each pack cost $4. So we're going to rewrite the expression now, and I think I'll move over here. We have 4 times m is, it's 3 times 4. Let me erase that. So we have 3 times m, and m is 4. So 3 times m, we're replacing or substituting m for the number 4. We know that means to multiply plus 2. And then I follow order of operations. So 3 times 4 is 12, and then I'm going to add 2. So the total cost is $14. All right, let's try number 3 here, the dinner bill. So number 3, you spend D dollars per person and pay for 4 people. Then you leave a $10 tip. Write an expression for your total cost. So this time, the problem is not going to give you the expression. We're going to have to write it ourselves, and then we'll evaluate if D is 12. So let's write the expression first. So you spend D dollars, we don't know how much, per person, and per is that key word there that's going to highlight that we're using multiplication. Okay, and I pay for 4 people. So I would do D times 4, and the commutative property of multiplication means that I can flip-flop my order. I can multiply in whatever order I want. So this is 4 times D, which is the same as 4D. Okay, and then I'm also, in addition to that, going to leave a $10 tip. So that's going to be plus 10. So it's $4 per person plus a one-time flat rate of $10 for the tip. I don't have to do a tip for each person. That's on the total cost of the bill. So our expression is 4D plus 10, and then now I can evaluate it. D equals 12. So each person spent $12. So I'm going to do 4 times 12, which is 48. And then I have 48 plus 10 would give me the total cost of $58. Today we learned how to evaluate expressions, and that was a fun lesson, right? I like to think of it sort of like building a puzzle. When you're evaluating an expression, there's that unknown amount, like that missing puzzle piece, and then once you know what it is and you are able to add it to the puzzle, it's so satisfying and rewarding. And evaluating expressions is kind of the same way. Once you know what that variable equals, you can take that number and plug it in and find your solution. So we went over some vocabulary words, we did some practice problems, and hopefully you're walking away with a great understanding on how to evaluate algebraic expressions. If you did not watch the lesson before this, please make sure to check out that link. That's really going to help you with this lesson and moving forward with more 6th grade work on algebraic expressions. We will see you next time. Thanks for watching.